Hello, I'm Jerome Ford, Managing Director of Ford HR Solutions. This resource relates to the conduct of an organisational investigation. In our first programme, we looked at the issues which prompted an investigation. The fact that an obligation to investigate may come from anywhere. The type of complaint, those that were easy to recognise and those that were more challenging. We consider the elements of an appropriate investigation and the planning which was involved. In this programme, we'll look at the basics of interviewing, the atmosphere of the interview and a checklist of things to bear in mind when interviewing the complainant, alleged wrongdoer and witnesses. Interviews should be conducted in private and perhaps in an off-site location. This can make the interviewee feel more secure. It can also give a sense of space and time to the process, which can improve the quality of the outputs. It's not always necessary, but it's worth considering. Along with the interviewee, you should have two people present, one to question, one to note, but also to witness. Don't do group interviews. It may sometimes seem efficient, but rarely gives the type of information to you which is useful in an investigation process and which can be relied upon in the making of decisions at a later stage. Representatives are there for the support and advice of the complainant. You should be ensuring that any evidence you take is from the complainant. When interviewing the complainant, explain the process. While remaining neutral, be sensitive to the issues being raised. As part of your process, you must identify the alleged wrongdoer, harasser, detail each incident of alleged misconduct and the dates and time frame, and identify the existence of witnesses or other knowledgeable persons. In relation to the complaint itself, if there was a delay in reporting, try and find out what the reasons were behind that delay. Was any effort made to avoid or stop the offending conduct? And did the complainant make a complaint to anyone else before the complaint which is being dealt with as part of the investigation? Find out what was the effect of the alleged harassment or misconduct on the complainant, and what remedy is being sought. In interviewing the alleged wrongdoer, you must do a lot of what you've already done and we've spoken about in relation to the interview with the complainant. Explain the investigation process and confidentiality issues. Particularly in relation to the alleged wrongdoer, don't anticipate the outcome of the investigation or provide projections of likely outcome. Don't engage in argument and don't encourage speculation about outcomes or the merits of the complaint. That's what you're there to find out. The purpose of the investigation is to uncover facts. So therefore, like with the complainant, you ask broad, open-ended questions first before following up with more detailed, specific questions based on responses in order to get to the core facts. Ask if he/she believed there's any other reason why the complaint may have been made. It's important to get this perspective on the complaint. It's also important to learn what is the relationship between them. And, of course, to learn whether there are any witnesses or other knowledgeable persons. In interviewing witnesses, it's important to inform the witness of the purpose of the interview, which is to obtain their knowledge of an incident or event, or maybe a number of them. You need to impress upon them the importance of truthfulness and confidentiality. In the context of confidentiality, tell them how their evidence will be circulated and used. Let them understand the level of openness of the investigation process among those participating in the process. As before, begin with open-ended questions to transition to the specific incident or event. Give the witness an opportunity to provide any further information. Probe with follow-up questions and about knowledge of the relationships between the complainant and alleged wrongdoer, or the possible motivation for the complaint or conduct at issue. Follow up any additional information or evidence offered. Failure to interview relevant witnesses may lead to the conclusion that the investigation was unfair. The most important word there is relevant. Failure to interview relevant witnesses may lead to the conclusion that the investigation was unfair. As long as the organisation conducts a reasonable, fair, thorough and prompt investigation and reaches reasonable conclusion based on that investigation. Risks are managed as effectively as they can be, and organisational damage is limited. All investigative materials, including interview notes, witness statements, correspondence and documents gathered in the course of the investigation, should be kept in a separate file, not a personnel or personal file. All investigation materials should be stored confidentially, with restricted access to that material. Most material from an investigation is discoverable if there is a subsequent legal case. Things to bear in mind. Keep the parties abreast of the progress of the investigation while it's going on. The investigator can't promise complete confidentiality to parties to an investigation. As an investigator, you should explain clearly and early on the nature of the qualified confidentiality which is available to the parties. Proper documentation is critical for minor and major investigations, and not being able to support contentions with documentation can be very serious for the credibility of the conclusions which are drawn and also the risk profile of the organisation. It's important to have interactive interviews, even if relying on written submissions. This means you should seek to have an interview on all occasions. Stick with the facts and prevent parties inserting their own subjective opinions on the process. As an investigator, you're a guardian of the process. If a conclusion cannot be drawn, it's important to state that no conclusion can be drawn and why, based on the best information available. We hope that this series of programmes on conducting an investigation has been helpful to you in your organisation. We're here, available, with free advice. We can support the investigation you may be conducting yourself. We can conduct investigations on your behalf when you need an independent third party. We bring to you and your organisation experience and expertise. Please contact us at any stage.